I want to touch on two very, very important things. The technical due diligence, which I guess is around the software, which I think is fascinating. I want to touch on that. Before I do, competitive due diligence, or what you call market due diligence, we actually call that competitive due diligence. And I've found that, especially on the smaller deals, that a lot of people looking for SaaS businesses go away and find a business that can actually be, the risk is that that business is it's a software that is basically a benefit or could be a benefit of a bigger company. For example, if somebody came out with a feature or a benefit that Zoom didn't have and they sold it as a software, and Zoom started to use that as a software, or started to use that, add that as a benefit for free to Zoom, that other business would quite easily and quickly go out of business. So there's a massive risk there. Do you see much of that with competitive due diligence? And then what other things do you look at as well?
Yeah, you clearly have that as a big risk. But honestly, I would say this is a risk with 95% of the software business you buy. Because Google is there, Facebook is there. So technically, they have the best engineer in the world. If they decided to go on your market, they would do it. But also what you see as a risk can also be an opportunity. Because if you see those big guys interested or lacking that piece of software, that means that if you're looking to sell your business in 5 years or down the road, they may actually be very good strategic buyer. Right, so it's kind of the two sides of the same coin. The other thing you look at when you're doing your commercial due diligence is going to look at the prices of your competitors, right, and see how well you're positioned to your competitors. In short, if you're familiar with the work of McKinsey, BCG Consulting, Bain and Company, they're specialized in commercial due diligence. So all the fancy metrics, to show if you're a cash cow or how you're positioned on the market on very fancy charts, where you are on different axes. This is all what commercial due diligence is about. Really understanding your positioning compared to your competitors, your strengths, your weaknesses, your threats, and all of that.
There's so much that goes into commercial due diligence. I want to touch on, because we don't have a whole lot of time, I do want to touch on the tech due diligence. I called it software due diligence, basically understanding the software and knowing. I think a risk is not knowing how up to date the software is, and then how many things that need to be plugged up and fixed, which is my major concern for somebody that says, hey, Jared, I want to buy a software business. And I ask them, how much do you know about software and can you audit the tech? What are some of the big components? What are some of the biggest risks, I guess, that you need to identify and point out when doing tech DD?
Well, basically, on tech DD, honestly, that's not my core skills, simply because I'm not a tech guy. Like, I have tech sensitivity, I've learned Python and the basics, but I'm not the one doing that. Like, we have a partner actually handling that. However, if I had like to take the 2 or 3 main things, generally understand who wrote the code, because if only one person in the company wrote the code, that generally means that everything depends on that person. So you need to be extra careful and check how well documented the code is. Because I've seen that in companies doing over 5 million in revenue per year. There was like one guy maintaining the code base. He had nothing documented. So basically the whole company was reliant on that guy, and you don't want that. And then the second thing is ask an expert to tell you whether the technology which is used is the right one, is there is a more efficient one. Try to see how clean the code is, because obviously, it's kind of like in mathematics. In mathematics, you can do 1 + 1 as 1 + 3 - 2 + 1 and get to the same result. But it's way more complex than just doing 1 + 1 = 2. So someone who's an expert in code review will tell you whether the code is efficient, if it runs well. He can also check the number of bugs. And actually, if you're not a tech guy, even before hiring anyone, a good way to know whether the technology is good or not, just ask for log reports or look at how many customers complain or have issues with the software per week. And that will give you a very good indication of how buggy or how well done the software is.
Yeah, that's really good. Asking for feedback and looking at the reviews. That's also a really good thing to have as your arsenal for growth in changing and updating and making the software better so people stay longer